Hi everyone, it's Bev DeBono with today's tip. Today I want to show you a striped paper border hack. And what I mean by that is that sometimes we have striped papers in our collections. And just looking at the striped papers, it's very hard to see them on an entire page as a scrapbook layout. But by using them as smaller borders, we still get the beauty of the stripe, but we're able to use it in a more functional way. So I have several ideas to show you. Usually if I'm using my stripe with alphabet stickers to make a title, such as the Feeling Lucky, I cut my stripe to 1 inch by 12 inch. So I cut a 1 inch stripe. Then I punch my border, and in this case it happened to be the diamond frame punch. And then what I want to do is put my stripe on the side of the border and then decide how large I want to cut that border. Now, if I'm going to use something different, like a laser or another strip down the middle, then I will cut the paper to 1.5 inches, the stripe to 1.5 inches, and after I punch the border, then I will decide how big I want to cut it. So I'll show you both of these examples, this time using the geometric frame punch and a couple other colors. So I've selected this stripe from the school collection, and you can see it's a very busy stripe pattern. And I want to actually make just a border on my stripe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the stripe to 1 inch. So I'm going to put my stripe in my trimmer and cut it at the 1 inch mark. Then what I want to do is take the color that I'm going to punch my border in and actually punch my border. So I'm going to use the geometric frame border, and I'm going to insert my paper on the side that it has the Creative Memories logo on it, and at one of the black lines right here. And that is where I'm going to insert my paper, line my paper up, because that is where the punch is going to punch. So I'm going to line it up to that black line on the side that it has Creative Memories. And I'm going to start punching. I'm going to move my paper down to where the design on the pattern matches the design on the shelf of the punch itself. And once that lines up, I'm going to punch it again. And keep punching until you get a complete border. Now, I love this geometric frame because it's very versatile and a lot of fun. You can use it for school, you can use it for party, you can use it, I'm going to show you, I'm going to use it for winter pages as well. Okay, and so now what I want to do is I want to put my 1 inch border, and I'll show you how I decide how big I'm going to cut it. I'm going to put my 1 inch stripe right where I have about 1/4 inch from where the border, the cut piece of the border meets the stripe. And I want about another 1/4 inch on the other end of it. So what I do is I actually use my mat and I line my cut border here up to my end here of my mat, put my strip on it, and I can see that in order to get another 1/4 of an inch, so this is here at the 2-inch mark, in order to get another 1/4 of an inch, that I need to punch this border. Oops, let's line this up right on that line there. And so if I need to get this border exactly in the middle, I'm going to punch this border out at 2.5. So I'm going to cut it at the 2.5-inch mark, and that will now give me a 1/4 of an inch on both sides of the striped border. Okay, so now I'm going to put this at my 2.5-inch mark, these pieces here. And I'm going to cut this right down at the 2.5-inch. And then when I put my stripe, it will be exactly a 1/4 of an inch on the top and the bottom of the punched border. So let's put that down. And if I line it up on my mat here, so I'm just going to line it up at the 6-inch mark going straight across. Use my mat as my measuring, and I'm going to go a 1/4 of an inch up from the bottom of it. So I'm lining the strip up at 6 1/4 both sides. So there, without measuring, I have my quick border. And this is one that you can do really quickly, and just a couple of school, just placing a couple of school embellishments on there, I can make a really cute, and I already put foam on the back of this one, a really cute school border with that one. And that's using the stripe. Now let's say I want to use a border that's already punched out, such as a laser border. I've used a laser border on this one. This was a laser poinsettia border. And I'm going to show you how to measure and get it on, get your measurements for this size border. So this happens to be from the Polar Lights collection, and I'm going to do a similar thing, but before I'm going to put this on top of the stripe. But if I put it on top of the 1-inch stripe, it's not big enough. So what I do is I'm going to measure the size of my laser, and again, I use my mat a lot. This laser measures an inch, about 1.5 inches. So to get a 1/4 of an inch on both sides, I'm going to need to cut my stripe at 2 inches. So I'm going to use this other blue stripe. I'm going to cut this at the 2-inch mark. And that's going to be my stripe piece. And you see now that fits perfectly on there. And I'm going to use this as my contrast to punch my border out. And it's going to look a little swirly like winter. So again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to insert my paper to the black line on this punch, and that is where I'm going to start punching. And I'm going to punch a complete border all the way through, just like I did with the other one. Now this is going to be a little bit of a bigger border because I'm working with a bigger stripe to start. So you can vary the sizes of your striped piece. It just depends what you're going to put on top of it. Okay, and we'll move this off. And now for me to measure, I'm going to do a similar thing. I'm going to put this up to the top. I'm going to measure it from the top. And then when I put my striped piece, you see I want 1/4 inch from the top of this where that will start, and then I want 1/4 inch on the bottom. So according to this measurement on my map, I'm going to want to cut this at 3.5 inches across. 3.5 inches across. So now I put my punched border at 3.5 inches. Line the tip tops of your border at the 3.5 inch mark. And cut that. And if you want to use a decorative blade to cut that, you can. I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to place it on my mat. Let's say I put it at the 6 inch mark. This way I can have a line that goes directly across. And I'm going to lay the bottom piece of my stripe at 6.25 inches on both sides. And this is how you get an even, without measuring, 6.25 inches on both sides. And I already put foam tape behind this winter swirl. And so I'm gonna pop it up with foam, and the foam tape just makes it go so much faster. Let's see, I'm gonna go this way, and that's gonna be a nice winter swirl. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed today's tip. It is all about using borders, using stripes to make your borders. And here's a completed page using the border at the top of a page. The other thing that I love with the stripe is that the look of the stripe, it sort of makes it look like you cut all of these little pieces and placed them on there, but you didn't, you just used the stripe. And the other good thing about using a stripe is that when you go to put alphabets or a title on there, you can actually use the line of the stripe to line up your ABCs. I hope you enjoyed today's tip. It's a striped border hack and how I use the stripes to make some really fun borders. Please comment so that I know you're watching and that you liked the video. And also I have a YouTube channel. It's called Bev DeBono Designs, and I have about 60 videos up there, fast and fun ideas. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.